preamble, I want to welcome you all to the De Young Museum and to our beautiful Correct Auditorium. I am thrilled and delighted to be with you all today on the opening day of the large retrospective on Lempicka. So thank you all for coming here. So this is, as you may know, this is the first and long overdue U.S. Museum retrospective dedicated to this wonderful artist. She is the high priestess of Art Deco. And for those who have seen the exhibition already in the preview days and this morning, you may have appreciated how the exhibition is as much as a scholarly retrospective on one of 20th century art greatest, but also an exciting journey through the life of a woman who's synonymous with creativity, transgression, glamour, but also freedom and empowerment during the exciting and turbulent years of the interwar period. As an artist, Tamara de Lempicka, whom you see here in all her beautiful glory, distilled a figurative style that is entirely unique and memorable. Drawing elements from the Italian Mannerist portraiture, the clear lines and smooth surfaces of 19th century French neoclassicism, blended with the energy of the Parisian and Russian avant-gardes, Tamara's style is absolutely unique, and as she wrote herself, among 100 paintings, you can always recognize mine, and that's absolutely true. Once you see one of her works, it stays with you forever. It's such a memorable style. Lempicka's paintings retain the brilliance and enamel qualities of precious gems, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, diamonds, and just like these precious stones, her paintings are cold, sharp, and very expensive. As many of the nice lenders of this exhibition know and are here today. Through her portraits and female nudes, presented at the Parisian salons and in galleries throughout Europe and the United States, Tamara cemented the formal characteristics of Art Deco during the 1920s and helped popularize the global diffusion of this movement in the 1930s. The artist enjoyed great critical and commercial success, but as the taste for figurative art declined, she was all but forgotten. In the 1970s, she was progressively rediscovered, but remained marginalized by critics and by the art historical canons and museums as a phenomenon of decoration pertaining the Art Deco period. Instead, and throughout her long life, Lempicka wanted to be recognized primarily as a painter. She only exhibited at the painting salons, and unlike many of her contemporaries, she never really branched out into fashion, furniture, or theater design, as she wanted to be recognized exclusively for her painting abilities, which are outstanding. It has been a humbling experience and a privilege for me, for us at the Fine Arts Museums, to give this wonderful artist the large retrospective that she deserves. And here we have two room shots from the striking exhibition design developed by our own designers, Alejandro Stein and Xiaoxi. So thank you to the exhibition team for this really exquisite. So from today and until February 9, in the Herbs Special Exhibition Galleries at the De Young, you will see gathered 60 of Lempicka's most important paintings, which is a record number, 40 of her drawings, complemented by photographs and objects from the period, mostly from our own collections. This gathering of more than 125 works is likely not to be repeated, given the importance of the loan, the fragility, and many other reasons. But also the combination of her paintings with the drawings really allow us to lean into Lempicka's craft and her exquisite drawing and painting techniques. it will allow really an appreciation, a deeper appreciation of the rich and varied cultural references that made her pictorial language so distinctive and so sophisticated. She goes in her sources from Renaissance sculpture to Mannerist portraiture to 19th century to contemporary sources. So I think the exhibition showcases the full range of her cultural references, which are very wide. I trust you will be stunned by the captivating beauty of Lempicka's art, the fascinating stories behind the sitters that she immortalized, a member of the Parisian or the Milanese jet set and the intelligentsia of the period, the sensual nudes, the poignant still lifes that she executed later in her life. But I also hope you will be compelled and fascinated by with Tamara's life journey, which is narrated throughout the 4 sections of the exhibitions, which, as you may have noticed, they follow the kind of different identities and names that she had throughout her life. And we're going to talk about this with Marisa in a moment. I think there are seats available, so you can free to go. Yes, go. It is a story of resilience, formidable talent, but also timeless elegance and glamour, transgression, mystery. All these elements we chose to retain, especially at a time when Lempicka's life and true legacy is being sometimes exploited and vulgarized for the most sensational aspects. So we chose to put the painting and her art on the forefront. The exhibition is an exhibition of this caliber is a multi-year research scholarly project that requires massive support. So I wholeheartedly wish to thank Director and CEO Thomas Campbell for believing in this project from the beginning, as well the museum's exhibition department, led by Krista Brugnara, the museum's board of trustees, and the many exhibition donors and sponsors that have contributed to these projects, and many of you are here with us today. So thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Lempicka's work is poorly represented in museums. He's an artist that is primarily collected privately. And as we will learn today, our museum was one of the first to actively seek and acquire a work by the artist in 2021. It is thence that we remain immensely grateful to the 50 national and international lenders, private and public, that have entrusted us with their works, and they're reunited here. And many, again, of you are here with us today to celebrate Lempicka. So thank you very much. And here you have the impressive list of lenders to the exhibition. Thank you. Another applause. Yes. So about today's program, we have a full menu of celebrations and offering for you, so get comfortable and ready. We start now with a curatorial panel discussion on Tamara, which will guide you basically through the main theme of the exhibition and some of the guiding, topics. And I will be in conversation with Marisa de Lempicka, whom I will introduce in a moment. After the conversation, we will be immediately screen a short documentary titled The Mystery of Tamara de Lempicka, which traces back the history of one of her lost masterpieces. It's a short documentary, about 40 minutes long, so you can enjoy it. And it also features the exhibition co-curator in a really amazing role of some sort of private detective in search of a Tamara lost painting. Right after the documentary, I will be available here to sign copies of the great catalog co-published by our museum and Yale University Press. It features essays by Gioia Mori, by Alison Lima Green, Laura Camerlengo, and amazing, sparkling, and poignant, beautiful preface exclusively written for us by Mrs. Barbara Streisand. So if you like documentaries of quality, stay and enjoy the screening. If you do not like documentaries, you can get your own copy of the catalog and come back here after 30 minutes or so for the signing, if you want it signed. So 3 things: panel, screening, and signing. We got it. So we'll start with the panel discussion, which originally, of course, it would have been an honor and a joy to have with us Gioia Mori, who's here in San Francisco. She flew directly from Rome. She's a professor of art history at the Accademia di Belle Arti, the Academy of Fine Arts in Rome, and she's the leading Lempicka scholar for the last 30 years. Her first book is a kind of a milestone in the scholarly literature for Lempicka, published in 1994. Unfortunately, Gioia cannot be with us today, but she sends her best to all of you. And I was very happy that at the very least she could enjoy the opening of the exhibition a few days ago, and we spent a lovely time touring through it. So Gioia is with us, and probably she's following us through the live stream, because also the event is on live stream. But I'm very lucky and equally honored to have with me the partner of this amazing journey for the last 3 years, Marisa de Lempicka, who is Tamara's great-granddaughter. She is the president of the Tamara de Lempicka estate, and I think you're basically the global ambassador of Tamara de Lempicka worldwide. She was in Poland 2 days ago. She's going, I don't know, in Germany tomorrow. And but I'm glad that we got you for like this week. And again, we have really a nice time walking through the exhibition together. So please welcome on stage Marisa de Lempicka. One second. Hello? Yes.
All right.
Great.
Hello.
So, and then there were 2.
I know, right? we were going to be 4, and yes, mother 2, and now we're 2.
Yes, we survived. So, Marisa, thanks for being with us today. As I said, you have been really a champion of Lempicka's work and kind of an ambassador of her, of this incredible, monumental figure of your family. So what we're doing today is a little game. Exactly. So we're going to. So the number one question that I get, maybe you too, is how to pronounce Lempicka.
Oh yes.
Right? How is it? Is Wempicka? Is Lempicka? Is Lempicki? So we did a spelling game, and we're using the letters of the Lempicka's surname, and kind of highlighting aspects of her life and her main topics of the exhibition. So we can combine some art historical information and more biographical ones coming from you and your knowledge. Do you want to play?
Yes, I knew Tamara. I was able to visit her as a little girl in her home in Mexico, so I was lucky enough to meet her, and she was such a strong presence. And I was a little girl, but I still remember her very vividly, so I'm happy to share some of those memories here. And what you said about the last name, I learned, so we pronounce it Lempicka at home, but in my first trip to Poland, I realized that the L is pronounced wa, so it was Wempicka. I also learned that there's the feminine and masculine to the last name. So we'll get into that, but Wempicki or Lempicki is the masculine and Lempicka is the feminine. So that's very interesting.
Yes, and to clarify the lineage of your family, so basically you're the Lempicka's great-granddaughter, meaning that your mom, Victoria, is the daughter of the famous Kizette de Lempicka, who's Tamara's only daughter.
Tamara only had one daughter, and so it's a lot of girls, and only had one daughter, and then Kizette had 2 daughters, my mother Victoria and my aunt Chacha, and my mother had 2 daughters, myself and my sister Christina. And we have no children, so this is it. So for me, it's so important to keep this legacy and make sure that Tamara is known for many, many years to come.
Great. So we start with L, and we start with a artist that is very much emblematic of Lempicka's artistic beginnings in Paris. And this is very much where the exhibition starts. We're talking about André Lotte, who is a post-Cubist artist active in Paris already from the early 20th century. He's part of the Cubist movement. He also founder of a specific sub-section, sub-avant-garde of the Cubist movement. And in our own collection at the Fine Arts Museums, we have some beautiful examples of his drawings. As you can see from the drawing at left, his draftsmanship is exquisite and very secure and polished. So the idea of the exhibition started because we acquired a drawing by Lempicka, knowing that we had so many drawings by her teacher. And the exhibition very much starts in this moment, very exciting moment for the arts in Paris, as the city was resurging from the war. 250,000 Russians fled into Paris, mostly of Jewish descent, after not only the end of First War, which was particularly disruptive for Central and Eastern Europe, but also after the Russian October Revolution of 1917. So Tamara arrives and she kind of resumes the art studies that she already began in St. Petersburg. And she finds in André Lotte, in his work, a very special connection. Lotte was a great artist, of course, and great draftsman, but most importantly was a fantastic mentor and teacher to Tamara. He's mostly known also for his treatise on painting, on drawing. He was an amazing teacher and mentor to all the students that he had.
Yeah, Tamara, André Lotte was really the only teacher that she admitted having, that she recognized. So it was very important for her.
Yes. And so what Tamara does, she enrolls in this academy run by Lotte in Montparnasse, and Lotte really puts on her the discipline of the daily exercise of drawing, especially drawing the nude, female and male. And you have to keep in mind that Tamara belongs only to the first or second generation of women artists that have access to life nude, to drawing from the nude model, which was prohibited to women in France up until the turn of the century.
Yeah, it's you can see also the inspiration, right? In these drawings, you can clearly
Very
see
strong.
that.
And what she also learned from Lotte is, she kind of a better comprehension of the human figure, this kind of very classical understanding of shapes, but also these kind of distortions and exaggerations that were typical of the language, Cubist language coming from André Lotte, which Tamara applies to the beautiful, nudes of male and female that you see in the first rooms. And here I wanted to show a video which is shown throughout the galleries, just snippets of it, but it's really fascinating. This was, it's an original, document from the 1930s, produced by Gaumont Pathé, which was the newsreel production company at the time. And it really shows the modernity of Tamara. So it's called A Beautiful Modern Atelier. And it starts with this kind of gloomy and old-fashioned footage of atelier run by men with, and then we enter in Tamara's apartment, like chrome-pleated, like modern, and she is like energetically, emphatically, drawing on this board, a nude woman. This is Suzy Solidor,
Suzy Porter,
very
yes.
close friend of Tamara, a singer and showgirl. And then the modern woman, the modern artist, is not really confined to a gloomy atelier studio work.
Dark.
But she gets ready for the night, and she's just, putting some makeup on. She takes care of herself. She really celebrates, womanhood in all of its fullness and complexity. And here she is, ready for cocktail time and dinner. This is all in Tamara's apartment at 7 Rue Méchain.
Yeah. Which is still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was decorated by, designed by Male Stevens, but also decorated by
Adrienne Gorska, Tamara's sister, who was one of the first female architects in Paris. They enjoyed working together. Tamara was also quite instrumental in the decor.
Yes.
And the bar still exists in that apartment. So
I love
it's
that.
amazing.
Have you been there?
Yes, a couple of times.
Did you have a martini? You should.
No, but it's amazing. The structure, obviously, of the apartment is there. The tall windows and that incredible stairway.
It's a masterpiece of modernist architecture.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which she uses to really showcase her modern lifestyle.
Exactly.
As an expression of herself.
Exactly.
And we'll get into that. So we go on the E, and I may be using here some outdated terms. I recognize it, but we discussed what she sees in Paris and Relotte and all that kind of, the academic world, but also she brings a lot with herself from her Eastern European, Russian, and Polish heritage. And that is really evident in the first rooms and the first two galleries of the exhibition, where she feels the early paintings, the really small, modest, still lives of the beginning, and the first figure paintings with clear references to the Russian culture. So we have the beautiful still life with the Russian doll, which the Russian dolls are these little, cardboard toys, which were very common in Paris at the time, and many Russian immigrants were producing and carving and selling them in order to survive, in those very early tough years. And to the right, the amazing Russian dancer.
I love it.
Yes. And this is a kind of a new discovery also, right?
Yes. It was a gentleman found it in Paris in almost like a garage sale. And it was then recognized by Gioia Mori and Alain Blondel as an original Lempicka.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic, yes. And
can you imagine?
Yes. Well, with Tamara, I think there are many discoveries that can be still done. So that's what makes her work and even more interesting. And
so many discoveries, still to be found.
So the Russian dancer, right? She's wearing this a classic folk Russian attire. The beautiful headpiece is called kokoshnik. Tatiana Soroko approved the pronunciation, and although it was kind of a headpiece used for popular festivities and folk, occasions, but it became some sort of an attire for the Russian dancers, a part of the Diaghilev, the troupe of Sergei Diaghilev that really took Paris by storm at the end of the 1910s. So this is probably a portrait, either a friend dressed in this kind of traditional Russian attire or a Russian dancer. But more clearly Polish, I would say, clues are in these later works with the beautiful portrait of Kizette wearing the Polish shawl.
It's a typical Polish shawl, yes. They still sell them today.
Still today, it's particular. I was told by one of our colleagues from the National Museum of Poland that it's a typical pattern from the Warsaw region. And then in the Paisana la Cruche, the peasant with the pitcher, also you have this beautiful kind of pattern that is typical of Poland. And then, of course, the avant-gardes, we usually associate the great energy of the avant-gardes with Paris, which was really at the center of the artistic revolution at the time. But Tamara was coming really from a great tradition of avant-garde artists that were thriving in Russia before the Russian Revolution, the Russian constructivism, the Cubo-futurism of the time. These are all incredibly important movements that were developed in Russia at the time, and that she can clearly captured here in the early abstract drawing, which is the first time it's on display.
Yes, part of my aunt's collection, so we're very happy that it's part of this exhibition.
Fabulous. Next to the very early street view of Paris, where you see that the planes are all kind of fragmented in this beautiful and gloomy, dramatic way. A beautiful loan from Anne and Richard Paddy, who are here with us tonight. M, so we're doing Lempicka. You got that, right? Yeah. No, right. Otherwise, YM. Yeah. Milan.
Milan,
Yes.
love Milan. And what a great painting that is.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
So Milan is where Tamara had her first solo exhibition, first gallery exhibition in the fateful 1925, so the year of the great exhibition of decorative art in Paris. Tamara, in the very same year, about the same time, the same month, she debuts as an artist in this amazing and historic exhibition at the
Bottega di Poesia.
Bottega di Poesia. This is an historic photo from your archive, which shows some of the paintings that were on display, including one that we have in the exhibition, the Fondo Rosa, the pink background, it's called.
But then we know it's somebody else, right? You can tell the story. But
I think, I don't know, we discussed about this, but I think this model, who's known, this is Zizi Zogbe, who was a Lebanese artist working in Paris, a friend of Tamara. I think is the same woman that posed for the Russian dancer painting.
They do look similar.
The features are kind of similar. And in Milan, of course, we have also, she presented the fantastic leaning nude #1, which is on display for the first time in the exhibition. It was another rediscovery. It was found about 10 years ago in our California collection, a painting that is notably still signed Lempicka, using the male declension. So the early critics thought they were praising the work of this Monsieur Lempicka, of this Mr. Lempicka, thinking that behind this painting...
she was a man.
Exactly. And you can see it
She
there.
did it on purpose, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was very daring for a woman to portray women in such a, explicit, sensual way. So it was, in a way, safer to sign it as a man. But she did it also for the portraits. But aside from the exhibition opportunity and the exposure that she had in Milan, that trip in 1925 allowed her to really connect with some key people from the Milanese society and many Russians that were living in Lombardy and in the Lake regions that became some of her early champions. And we have from left to right, the Bianca Bellincioni, who was a soprano, very famous soprano of the period. We have the Prince Aristov, who fled Russia, and he was kind of a great heir of a alcohol empire, a vodka business, and to the right, the dashing Marchese Guido Sommi, Piccinardi.
Incredible.
Yes, beautiful. Very similar to Thaddeus.
Yes, they
she,
kind of
she had
look,
a type, I think. She was always...
Dark, handsome man.
Yeah. And because Tamara entertained also a relationship with Guido Sommi, who was a futurist musician, married to Princess Pignatelli, so really the high
crème
life,
de la crème.
Crème de la crème of the Italian society at the time, but very much involved in the arts. So again, this mix of society and intelligentsia is very interesting in Tamara's early work. And at the Bottega di Poesia, at this very sophisticated gallery in Milan, Tamara had the chance to exchange and establish rapport with the wider group of artists, and not just Parisian ones, but all these neoclassical artists active in Milan. And just the year prior, Tamara's exhibition, Felice Casorati, whose painting you see at left, exhibited in the very same gallery. So I think because of this exposure and artistic exchange that she had in Milan with all these new artists that were kind of rejecting the abstraction and more extreme avant-gardes, she became even more compelled to exploring neoclassical forms and nudes and female nudes.
That's a spectacular painting, yeah. But you can clearly see the inspiration, right?
Yeah, of the concert and the musical theme, Ingres, also very strong. Pop culture. So, do you want to say something about this?
Oh, yeah. Well, as we know, Barbara Streisand was one of the first famous collectors of Lempicka, and we're going to go into, and that's such a fabulous painting too. I wish we could have it here, but almost impossible to get. But yes, and we'll keep going. We'll see.
Well, when I started this exhibition, I had this fantasy of having Streisand in some sort of capacity in the catalog. So beyond grateful for her writing this beautiful preface that you will read in the catalog. But most importantly, because she really is the first one, or among the first one, to really recognize
Tamara as a big talent.
Yes.
For sure.
It is an artist that spoke to her very much so, and she collected some of the highlights of Lempicka's Art Deco catalog. This is her Malibu home, all decorated with Art Deco furniture and designs. And then in a kind of a legendary Christie's auction in 1994, she dispersed and she sold all of these works from this specific property, including the 3 or 4 amazing Tamara de Lempickas.
Yeah. And at that auction, it was a huge record. A lot of people had not even heard who's this Lempicka, and it sold for almost $2 million in 1992. I remember my family was very happy and surprised and proud,
That is really the auction that propelled Lempicka into the art market. Yeah. I would say that Lempicka was recognized by the market first, and then by the critics and the art historians. So Streisand really had an eye and also a really important contribution in the rediscovery of Tamara. But also, as we go through some pop culture moment with Tamara that are, kind of foregrounded in Tamara's, we have Angelica Houston receiving her Oscar in 1986. She's wearing,
yes, some of Tamara's jewelry. She played Tamara in a play called Tamara the Living Movie, based on Tamara's encounter with Gabriele D'Annunzio at Il Vittoriale. It's 24 hours of Tamara's life at Il Vittoriale. So it's a really interesting play. You follow the characters around the house, and it was the longest running play here in California, in Los Angeles. It went to New York, Mexico City, and Buenos Aires, and Angelica played Tamara for the first 4 months of the play. So, yeah.
And also, she's wearing a dress that is kind of,
the green,
inspired by the signature green, of course.
But it's interesting. I'm sorry, but she was dating Jack Nicholson in those days, so he's the one that bought her the jewels to wear for the Oscar. Yeah. Lucky her.
We also have in the exhibition in the last room a painting that she used to own, the beautiful studio atelier scene. So she was also a really great collector of the artist, and I don't know, I just love this moment. And these are really the 80s where Tamara was really becoming a phenomenon of pop culture. And speaking of that, of course, Madonna is another...
Today, the biggest collector. She's got 4 or 5 masterpieces. So, yeah. And she clearly was inspired by Tamara in many of her videos, Vogue, Express Yourself. You will see Open Your Heart. You will see many of Tamara's paintings in the background. And this is a great picture. You can see her channeling Tamara.
Yes. So these are the great, amazing music videos. The opening sequence at the bottom of Vogue.
That's Vogue, and that one's Open Your Heart.
By David Fincher, so great also directors, and Open Your Heart. But also, I feel like she channeled Tamara in other periods of her life, like the Evita time, the 1940s, very glamorous Hollywood moment. I think it's a nod to Tamara's Baroness Kufner period.
Yeah.
Yes, as it's shown in the exhibition. So these are the videos, of course. And this, talking about pop culture, if you read the labels or the catalog, you will see that this painting, it's a 1941 painting that she exhibited here in San Francisco called At the Opera. This is kind of Tamara left behind the Art Deco kind of super streamlined aesthetic, and she's entering a more neo-Baroque kitsch, kind of phase. But this painting, when it went at auction, it was fiercely, there was a fierce bidding war between Andy Warhol, who lost it, to Wolfgang Jopp,
I didn't know
the German fashion designer.
Joop was a huge collector. He had about 6 paintings, masterpieces.
And Warhol, who's also Polish origins, and I think it has so many,
similarities,
similarities
and
with Tamara.
The pop icon.
Pop icon, the kind of the self-promotion, the attention and the savviness in the use of the media. Tamara was very much at the forefront of what the post-war artist would be. Moving on to I as in Ira, or Ira.
Ira. But she pronounced her Ira Pero. So, yeah.
So Ira is the center of an entire section of the exhibition. She was a poet of renown in Paris. She was the muse and subject of some of the most memorable paintings that Tamara did from the early 20s to the late 30s. And she was also Tamara's longtime girlfriend. Although they were both married to men, they entertained a deep friendship and affectionate one that lasted years.
Pretty much the whole lifetime, like about 40 years.
In fact, you were telling me something about...
Yes, I was telling you. So my mother would go to visit Tamara yearly, and she was a teenager, and Ira Pero went to pick her up at the airport. I know Tamara's famous painting of Tamara in the Green Bugatti, but she didn't enjoy driving that much. So Ida went to pick my mother up, and they were friends. She never talked about their relationship, just the friendship. But we know, yes, they were lovers for a long time.
And we have, thanks to you in the exhibition, also this beautiful footage of them, having, a fun time.
It's like the selfies, right? They're like videoing themselves. You will see it, the black and white at the Luxembourg Gardens in Paris. And Tamara was directing that movie. She was telling, of course, everybody what to do and where to stand. But it's a great, very, it's not poise. They were just having fun.
Yes. And yes, as we said, Ira Pero is the kind of towering subject celebrated in some of the most memorable paintings and drawings, of course, that are reunited in the exhibition. At center, you have the double portrait of her kind of at the mirror for the first time on loan.
It's amazing.
You never saw it before.
I had never seen it in person.
Yeah, it's the double-sided painting that you see at the center, on a pedestal from a private collection in Berlin. The magnificent portrait of Ira Pero with the calla lilies, formerly owned by Streisand. Yeah. And Gioia Mori did such a beautiful job on researching this painting because she identified the exact piece of fashion that she's wearing. And it's a couture gown from the Maison Leblanc in Paris. And also you may recognize Ira in other paintings that are not necessarily in that section, but Ira becomes for Tamara some sort of really muse and inspiration. Muse, yeah. And you can see her features, the big eyes, the pointed nose, the bob.
Dark hair.
Yes, throughout some other paintings in the show, including, the Springtime. Which
that one also I had never seen. I hope you enjoyed it. It's fabulous. And I think obviously it's Ida and Tamara. Yeah.
It seems like it, yes. Really fantastic. And to the left is the painting called Saint Moritz, which Tamara painted as the cover of the German fashion magazine Die Dame. It was the same year where that Saint Moritz, the Swiss town, hosted the Winter Olympics, which saw at the time a record number of female athletes competing for the winter sports. So the Die Dame was celebrating that women entering the athletic world in a massive way there. California. So we're here in California.
I love it. There you can see she's always an amazing artist, of course, but always the diva. Yeah, and the fashionista too. Yes, there's never an ugly picture of her. I don't think no.
Yeah, that's true. So how we kind of centered and anchored this exhibition to San Francisco and to California is because Tamara came here twice. She came here once in 1929, where she also exhibited one painting, but most importantly and prominently in 1941, she came back with an entire exhibition of her later works that she exhibited in a gallery in Geary Street, 133 Geary Street. And this is her arrival in San Francisco in September 1941. It's a photo. You can see that the photo was provided by the Palace Hotel, which is where she stayed for the next following 2 weeks. perfect, just arrived.
Yes, and always 5-star hotels.
And she's holding in her hands the invitation to the exhibition, which you see on display in the galleries. And this is courtesy of Gioia Mori's archive. We have the full checklist of the 12 paintings that she exhibited at the time in 1941. Of the 12 paintings, 8 are in the exhibition.
Amazing.
So we basically reunited and reconstructed that entire feel of that exhibition, which was mildly received by the critics.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, San Francisco critics. I don't know if the journalists are here, but it was a sensation from a social standpoint.
Yes.
The Baroness Kufner, as she was known at the time, was received in San Francisco as a celebrity.
Yeah.
She was in the newspaper every single day. And this is a selection of the paintings that she exhibited. So this kind of neo-Renaissance, religious subjects, and this beautiful still life.
And, the nun is interesting, but because I don't think maybe most people maybe don't even notice it, but that was her favorite painting. She had it, and she until the day she died, was eventually donated to the French museums. But she was very proud of that painting.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And I think we'll.
And also it's interesting. The frame is the original frame. She chose that. Very unique.
The green velvet frame.
The green velvet. That's how she chose to frame that painting. Beautiful. So it's interesting that it's still there.
So in those galleries, as you will see, they're really dark charcoal walls, pretty much like here in the auditorium, because that's exactly how she presented the paintings in San Francisco, as recollected by the newspaper of that time. And I think here, yes, we have a couple of photos of Lempicka's during the her 2 weeks in San Francisco. She was really hosted and greeted and celebrated constantly. One of the biggest parties that was done in her honor was organized by Helen DeYoung Cameron,
wow,
who was the daughter of M.H. DeYoung, the founder of this museum, and at the time the wife of the publisher of the San Francisco Chronicle. So she organized this very kind of sophisticated tea time, which turned into a cocktail hour, which turned into an after-hour party. They went on the entire evening, and that was like, she really was the toast of San Francisco.
Yeah, well, she really knew how to become friends with the press, and she had friends in the press and photographers. So she always felt that this would help her sell her paintings, be recognized, and she really stressed on those relationships with the press.
She was very savvy, and as we saw before from the video, where already in the 30s she was there being filmed and photographed. A very intelligent use of the press. However, I think that the San Francisco show left some sort of a sour, flavor, because the critical reception wasn't great, and that kind of dictated a progressive withdrawal of Tamara from the artistic life in a more active way. She continued painting, as you may remember. She
painted, until the day she died. She really painted every day. But I think also she didn't need to sell the paintings too. She was Baroness Kufner now, and I think that hunger that what she had in the 20s and 30s wasn't there anymore.
Another tie to San Francisco and California is this amazing painting, which is for the first time on display. It's been it recently appeared on the market and acquired by two amazing friends of the museum who are here with us today. And we're very grateful to them for lending it to the show. It's a portrait of Kizette. It's called Young Girl in Pink, although the dress is almost white, as we'll see. And this is the first painting that Tamara sold to the United States, and it was in a San Francisco collection already in the 20s. It was in the collection of the Russian diplomat Boris Kirchin, who had two daughters who were very much great tennis players. So for them, Tamara created this rendition of a very famous composition that she did before in
Kizette
honor.
Rose, yes. And Kizette loved playing tennis, actually. She even also in her older age, she loved tennis. So it's kind of it might have been a tennis dress, yeah.
So let's talk about Kizette,
yes.
Who was your grandmother.
My grandmother,
yes. What can you tell us?
Kizette was an amazing woman. Kizette really devoted her life to Tamara. Tamara was not always easy. She has a very strong personality. What Tamara wanted, Tamara got, and Tamara wanted things done her way. So it was not always easy to please Tamara, but Kizette really kept all her archives, worked almost as a secretary to her. Tamara did not enjoy writing, and Kizette would do all her correspondence, all her archival. And here we see she was, I think, one of Tamara's favorite models, and some of these are incredible masterpieces. So, and she was a lovely woman. She was a great grandmother.
That's great. In the exhibition really celebrate Kizette not only as the muse and model, but as a caring presence for Tamara's throughout her life. We owe to Kizette the survival of many of the paintings that Tamara did not sell throughout her life, and we have here friends that knew her very, very well. She is the subject of the first paintings that garnered her critical recognition, as the Kizette at the balcony that you see at left, and she turned her into different characters, sometimes it's a very, kind of Lolita, and other times she's receiving the communion or reading the prayers in a babushka. So she really made an amazing use of Kizette on the cusp of change, of adulthood. Also, there's this beautiful tension between the kind of the infancy that she represents, but also the future and, the adulthood that their poses and sensuality kind of entails a little bit.
Yeah, and she captured her eyes really, really well. Kizette had this big, huge, beautiful aqua blue eyes, and I think she captured that very well.
Yeah.
Kind of a defiant look, kind of mischievous. She was a little mischievous.
Well, talking about that, our drawing, this is the drawing that we acquired in 2021, and that kind of sparked the idea of the larger retrospective and the exhibition that you see today. Little I knew that we were the first U.S. museum to actively purchase. I worked by Tamara de Lempicka. I thought it was the perfect addition to our collection. But this drawing, which I find outstanding, really captured that sinister look of
mischievous
of Kizette. They had really ups and downs probably in their relationships, as always.
Of course, between mother and daughter, yeah. But again, Tamara was an extremely strong person, so it was not always easy to be around her, and it was hard to please her sometimes. So,
and she wanted to work. She wanted to be really perceived as an artist. So probably being mother at this time wasn't really, her priority.
They said that when she moved to the United States, she presented Kizette as her younger sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hence this drawing, Yes. But beautiful gallery of Kizette.
Gorgeous,
so yes. Yeah. And we end with Art Deco. It's, Tamara is identified as really the defining artist of this movement. She had a role in the popularizing the diffusion of Art Deco in Europe and in the United States. And however, she's been always perceived more as a phenomenon of decoration more than an artist. Nonetheless, we decided to include some key objects from our own collections at the Fine Arts Museums. We're celebrating this year, so we're at the De Young today, but 50% of our museum is also the Legion of Honor, who was founded in 1924, so at the height of the Art Deco period. So most of these objects are coming from our collections there. Dresses, furniture, decorative arts, the beautiful screen by Jean Dunan. We had an amazing contribution from Tatiana Sorocco who lent dresses, period dresses from her own archive, fashion archive, as this beautiful orange dress that you see here. So for us, the exhibition is also a way, and it will be for you all an opportunity to discover the great wealth of Art Deco holdings of our collection.
Amazing.
Yes, and they are kind of sprinkled throughout the exhibition, but always putting Tamara's work on the forefront in a way to show she's really not a decoration. She was amazing.
A main force in
Yes.
the 20s and 30s for sure.
But it was a joy to put on display all these things that are rarely seen, in fact. So we are now taking a few questions, and I want to thank Marisa de Lempicka
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
with us.
Thank you. Thank you for. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I just want to do. I'm so sorry that my mother couldn't be here. I know she's heartbroken, but she wishes she was here. And I'm just going to say, for me and our family, we're so thankful to you, Furio, for believing in Tamara, for really having that courage to bring this exhibition together, for all the lenders, the collectors that have very generously lent their paintings, their babies for many of them. I know these paintings are their babies, but this is the only way the rest of us can enjoy this art, and it's so important that Tamara's legacy keeps on, and hopefully, I don't know if we'll ever be able to have another exhibition like this, but I hope we do. But please enjoy. It's an amazing exhibition. It's an amazing feat that all these artworks are here together in one place for everybody to enjoy. Tamara's best works. Thank you.
So as we have our colleagues here that are with the microphone for question for you, and I want to also show the catalog here, which would last longer than the 4 months run of this exhibition. And if you have a question, yes, here. Hello, yes, and then we'll get into the document. I know you.
My question to Marisa. In all of the pictures at the exhibition, Tamara shown in wearing fabulous jewelry. What happened to the jewelry? Did you inherit it? Angelica Houston got some other pearls from her. Tell us all about the jewelry.
Oh, thank you. Yes, she loved jewelry, as we can see. She loved hats and she loved jewelry. Unfortunately, many of the diamonds we don't have, but we do have. She also designed some of her own jewelry. So we have some of the jewelry from the 50s and 60s. Obviously, everything. She was a very tall woman with big hands, so that brings a huge. The pieces are very. They call the attention. So we have some gold and with emeralds and rubies, and we also own the famous ring that Gabriele D'Annunzio gave to Tamara on a white horse. Gabriele D'Annunzio, for the ones that don't know, he was a famous poet and general in Italy, and there's a quick. I'll tell the story really quick. He invited Tamara to Il Vittoriale to paint a portrait of him, but he had other ideas, and she, but as a parting gift, she never ended up painting him. He sent this amazing ring. It's a huge topaz to Tamara when she was staying in Milan, so we have that.
And also, I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, the rubies, the emerald, these are really the colors of her paintings.
Yeah.
They are really, she captured the preciousness and the material qualities of those gems that she adored.
Yeah. Well, I think she understood that the gems could be, as I tell in my story, gems and diamonds. If she ever needed to leave again, she could take the jewels with her. She was always, I think, as many refugees or people that are survivors of wars or revolutions, she always had that fear. She carried this fear with her that she would lose everything again. So jewels were a way, an insurance.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Artur Winiarski. First of all, I would like to congratulate for the beautiful exhibition you made, Furio, and Marisa also being ambassador of Tamara de Lempicka. I was lucky to make an exhibition 2 years ago of Tamara de Lempicka in Poland, and we stressed Tamara de Lempicka in the context of fashion in my exhibition, but also we exposed the paintings from the later period, abstract art. And my question is, because here in the exhibition you don't present any abstract paintings by Tamara de Lempicka. And I would like to ask your approach to this subject, because it is like a completely change of Tamara approach to art towards the end of her life, and she was probably trying to keep pace with the New York school of the 50s. But this is also interesting subject, and I would like to know your opinion about this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. So Arthur, thank you, and your show was amazing. Indeed, Tamara continued to paint almost until the very end of her life, to paint and draw. However, I think the answer is already in your question, because from some moment on, she stopped being in touch with who she really was, and started being, looking at other things like the abstract art, the surrealism, and following what was working around. I think her inspiration declined markedly from that moment on. Also, unlike the exhibitions in Europe that you did, Gioia Mori did some memorable ones. For the first exhibition of the United States, a sort of introduction to the artist, I wanted really to keep the high level and really the emphasis on our golden age, which is the 20s, the 30s, up to the end of the 40s. But I don't think it would have been a service to the artist to include many other things that she did mostly for herself.
And I think these are the most memorable works, and like you say, for a first exhibition in the United States, I think this is a perfect.
We'll do another one
way.
from 1950 onward, part 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't need it.
You wanna? I'll do this. You can borrow mine.
Thank you. Since she was born in St. Petersburg, are any of her work exhibited in l'Ermitage or some other museums in Russia?
Sadly not.
No?
The only institutions in Europe that have worked by Lempicka are the Pompidou, the museums in Nantes, Orléans, Beauvais, Roubaix, Warsaw, of course, and that is pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, we still don't know if she was born in St. Petersburg or Warsaw. So there's still, the birth certificate has never been found. So we still don't know. Yeah. So that's part of the mysteries, right?
Mystery. We want some mystery, sometime. Yes, we want to keep the mystery. One more question, and then we have the yes, her? No. Oh,
Oh.
Can you scream it? Yes.
I'll put on my t-shirt.
Yes.
I was interested in her way of working, her methods. One thing that I saw in the portrait of Toulouse was the part that's wiped out with the hand. It looks like there is a grisaille under there, and that perhaps the way she got those jewel-like colors was through a series of glazes. Is that how she worked?
Yes.
No, can I add something very different, very, very interesting, because the paints of those, the paint of those days, the way those colors, the greens we had malachite, the blues had lapis lazuli, so there was this pigments that later in her life, they were not part of the paints anymore. So that's, I think, one of the reasons too why her style changed, because she couldn't obtain those colors anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
So enjoy the documentary. We'll be around later for the catalog signing.
I want to say one more thing.
One more thing.
I did mention Gioia Mori. She really, yes. I didn't mention her. I know you did, but she's really one of the first scholars to focus her whole career on Tamara's art and life. So we're very thankful for her and her archives and her lifetime work. And thanks to her, really, I think we have this today. And she's here, yes. So we're very sad she's not here today, but she really, thanks to her, we have Tamara today. So yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Marisa. Thank you.